It was a bright morning when the employees of a busy office decided to take a short break from their hectic schedules. The company had organized a small retreat at a cozy inn outside the city, a place with wooden floors, sunlight streaming through tall windows, and a large piano standing quietly in one corner of the lobby. Most people ignored it, walking past as they chatted or grabbed coffee, but it stood there like an old friend waiting for someone to notice it. The group had gathered in the lobby for a casual icebreaker game. Laughter echoed through the space as co-workers exchanged jokes, stories, and playful challenges. Everyone was relaxed, away from the pressure of deadlines and office meetings. Among them was a woman who often stayed quiet, sitting slightly apart from the chatter. She smiled when people laughed, but rarely joined the conversations. She wasn't shy, exactly, but she preferred observing and listening to the world around her rather than shouting to be heard. Many of her co-workers didn't know much about her outside of work. They knew her to be kind, polite, and diligent, but her personal life and hidden talents were a mystery. One of the more playful co-workers noticed her sitting quietly and decided to stir the group's energy a little. He leaned back against a chair, smirking, and called out, pointing at her, "Hey, why don't you play something on that piano over there? I bet you can't." His tone was teasing, exaggerated, meant to draw laughter from everyone around. The others perked up, expecting a funny scene. They chuckled and nudged each other, curious to see how she would react. The moment felt lighthearted, the kind of joke that passes easily among people who know each other well. But there was a subtle expectation he doubted she could actually play, and everyone assumed she wouldn't. The woman looked up slowly, her eyes meeting his. There was no anger, no embarrassment, and definitely no hesitation. Instead, she smiled softly, almost mysteriously, and simply got up from her chair. Her movement was quiet and unassuming, yet there was a grace in the way she walked toward the piano. The laughter in the room quieted down slightly as people exchanged surprised glances. No one expected her to actually accept the dare. The man who had teased her leaned forward, still smirking, confident that this would be a short, amusing moment before she sheepishly turned away. When she reached the piano, she paused for a moment, her fingers hovering just above the keys. The room seemed to hold its breath, the casual chatter replaced with a sudden, curious silence. There was something about the way she touched the piano that made the space feel different, as if the instrument itself recognized her presence. People in the room shifted on their feet, leaning slightly closer, some smiling, some raising eyebrows, unsure of what to expect. The playful energy had transformed into a quiet anticipation. The man who dared her leaned back, thinking he had already won the moment. He whispered to a colleague, "This is going to be good. Watch, she'll just fumble around." Others nodded, ready for the performance of awkwardness they expected. The woman, however, did not seem nervous at all. Her calmness was almost magnetic, pulling the attention of everyone in the room without her saying a word. There was a contrast between the teasing energy of the group and the serene focus she carried. She adjusted her posture slightly, her hands resting gently on the keys. The sound of the piano filled the space as she pressed a single note. It was soft, clear, and precise. The note lingered in the air, unexpected in its perfection. The room, previously full of jokes and casual chatter, seemed to pause. Eyes widened, jaws dropped slightly, and the man who had dared her froze mid-smirk. The sound was simple, but it carried a confidence and beauty that none of them had anticipated. It was a moment that quietly demanded attention. Another note followed, then another. The woman's fingers moved with ease, her hands gliding across the keys with an elegance that made the music flow naturally. The piece wasn't fast or dramatic yet, but every note was deliberate and expressive. Her co-workers watched in stunned silence. The casual banter that had filled the room just moments ago vanished completely. Even those who had been joking around couldn't help but focus on the unfolding performance. The sound of the piano was gentle but compelling, capturing the room in a way that no words could. Some people in the room exchanged glances, whispering softly, "Wow, I didn't know she could play like this," one said quietly. "Me neither," another replied, eyes still on the piano. A few of the employees, who had been skeptical, now felt a growing respect and curiosity. The quiet woman who had been almost invisible in the group had suddenly become the center of attention, not through shouting or boasting, but through a natural talent they had never seen before. The man who dared her was no longer smiling. He shifted uncomfortably, realizing that the joke had completely backfired. The woman's focus never wavered, her music filling the space. Yet she never looked up or let the attention intimidate her. It was as if she had played the piano every day of her life, not for recognition or applause, but simply because it was a part of her. The room was captivated, drawn to the music and the performer, feeling a mixture of surprise, admiration, and awe. The piano notes continued, flowing seamlessly from one to the next. She wasn't just playing, she was telling a story, expressing something deeper than anyone in the room could yet understand. The melody was gentle but strong, confident yet emotive. Each key seemed to resonate with a purpose, and everyone could sense the years of practice, dedication, and love for music behind each movement. The silence in the room was now filled with anticipation, and even those who had been joking moments ago felt a sense of humility. They realized they had misjudged her entirely. People who had been laughing and teasing now sat quietly, captivated by the unexpected performance. Some leaned forward slightly, as if afraid that even a single shift might break the spell. The piano, once just an object in the corner, had become the medium through which the woman silently commanded attention and respect. Her co-workers were witnessing not just a musical skill, but a part of her life and personality that she had never shown before. It was a revelation in the midst of a casual, everyday moment. The woman's calm presence and precise notes contrasted sharply with the playful energy that had led to this moment. The laughter, teasing, and casual challenges had all faded away, replaced by a profound focus and curiosity. Even those who had doubted her abilities couldn't help but be drawn into the performance. Each note she played seemed to tell a story, one that no words could fully capture but that everyone could feel in their hearts. As the final notes of the simple opening melody lingered, the room remained quiet for a moment longer than expected. The sound faded, but the impact lingered in the air. Eyes that had been wide with surprise were now filled with admiration. People exchanged glances, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others smiling quietly, unsure of what to say. The man who had dared her finally met her gaze, a mix of astonishment and embarrassment evident in his expression. What had begun as a joke had transformed into something remarkable, an experience none of them would soon forget. The woman gently lifted her hands from the piano, her expression calm and unassuming. She didn't look for praise, nor did she show any sense of triumph. She simply returned to her seat as if nothing extraordinary had happened. But the room had already recognized the extraordinary in her. Everyone realized that the quiet woman they had known for so long had a hidden depth, a talent that went far beyond what anyone could have imagined. That simple dare, meant to amuse, had uncovered a brilliance that changed the way everyone saw her. It was a moment of revelation, and it was just the beginning of a story that would continue to astonish those who were fortunate enough to witness it. After the initial surprise, the room slowly returned to a low hum of whispers. People exchanged looks of astonishment, still digesting what they had just witnessed. The quiet woman had returned to her seat, but the impact of her first few notes lingered in the air. It wasn't just the skill, it was the confidence and calmness she had shown while performing. It was clear to everyone that her music came from deep within, a part of her that had remained hidden until now. Some of her co-workers leaned closer to each other, murmuring questions and comments. "I had no idea she could play like that," one whispered. "Neither did I," another replied, shaking their head. "She has to have trained for years. There's no way someone could sound like that without serious practice." The conversations were filled with amazement and curiosity. Everyone wanted to know more, but the quiet woman gave nothing away. She didn't look for attention, she didn't smile or nod. She simply sat quietly, calm and unassuming, as if playing the piano had been just a small part of her life. The man who had dared her remained standing for a moment, still stunned. His confidence had evaporated completely. He had meant it as a harmless joke, something to get a laugh and show his wit. Now he felt a mix of embarrassment and awe. He took a deep breath, trying to recover his composure, but he couldn't help stealing glances at the piano. The way she had handled herself, the way her hands moved over the keys, had left him speechless. He had expected fumbling and awkwardness, but instead, he had been met with elegance, precision, and a quiet strength. Meanwhile, others in the room began to feel a strange kind of excitement. Some who had been indifferent to the retreat's activities now found themselves drawn to the piano. The air felt different, as if the simple act of her playing had transformed the energy of the space. There was a mix of curiosity and anticipation, a desire to see more, to understand the depth of her talent. It was as if they had been shown a glimpse into a hidden world that they had never known existed. In the midst of their ordinary lives, a few minutes passed, and the woman finally spoke, her voice soft and natural. "Would you like me to continue?" she asked, not with arrogance, but with a quiet invitation. The room responded almost instinctively with eager nods and murmurs of agreement. The man who had dared her hesitated, then slowly nodded, realizing that there was no turning back. Everyone wanted to hear more. They had been given only a taste of her abilities, and it had already captivated them. She returned to the piano and placed her hands gently on the keys again. This time, she didn't start with a simple melody. Instead, she began to play a slightly more complex piece. The notes flowed effortlessly, rising and falling in a rhythm that felt both powerful and emotional. Her fingers moved with precision, each one seemingly knowing exactly where to go. The music wasn't just sound, it was a story unfolding in real time, a story that the audience could feel deep in their hearts. As the piece continued, the atmosphere in the room shifted even more. People who had been skeptical, who had expected only a joke, now felt themselves drawn into the music. Some closed their eyes, letting the sound wash over them, while others leaned forward, captivated by the skill and emotion in each note. There was a quiet intensity in the space, a sense that everyone was part of something rare and beautiful. The woman's calm demeanor made the performance even more striking. She didn't rush, didn't seek approval, yet she held the attention of every person present. The man who had dared her finally approached the piano, not to interrupt, but to observe. He watched as her fingers danced over the keys, each movement deliberate, each note precise. He could see the years of practice, the dedication, and the love for music in every gesture. It was clear that she had hidden this talent for a reason, perhaps to avoid attention or to stay modest. Now, however, that hidden depth was revealed, and it changed everything he thought he knew about her. Other co-workers began to whisper among themselves. "She's incredible," one said quietly. "It's like the piano was made for her hands." Another added, "I wonder how long she's been practicing. She must have started as a child." The excitement was genuine, and it was paired with a sense of respect. They were no longer just co-workers sharing a casual break. They were witnesses to something extraordinary, a rare glimpse into a hidden part of someone they had known only superficially. As the music grew more intricate, the woman's focus never wavered. Her eyes remained on the keys, her posture calm, her expression serene. The performance was natural, almost effortless, yet it was evident that it required immense skill and discipline. She wasn't performing for attention or praise. She was expressing something deep and personal, sharing a part of herself that few had ever seen. The room felt charged with emotion, a mix of awe, admiration, and quiet reverence. By the time the piece reached its gentle conclusion, the room was completely silent. The final notes lingered in the air, delicate and precise, leaving a sense of calm and wonder. People sat frozen for a moment, unsure of how to respond. The laughter and teasing from earlier felt distant, replaced by a profound appreciation for what they had just witnessed. The quiet woman, who had once been overlooked in the group, had now become the center of attention, not through words or actions, but through the undeniable power of her talent. Slowly, people began to clap, softly at first, then louder as the realization of her skill sank in. The applause was genuine and heartfelt, not just for the music, but for the courage it had taken to share it so openly. The man who had dared her smiled awkwardly, finally understanding the gravity of what had just happened. He approached her, still a little unsure of what to say, and offered a sincere, "That was amazing." She simply nodded, acknowledging the compliment without fanfare. Her humility only made the performance more impressive, showing that true talent doesn't need to be flaunted. The rest of the morning passed differently than anyone had expected. The mood in the room had shifted from casual playfulness to admiration and curiosity. Conversations were quieter, more reflective. People found themselves discussing music, technique, and the dedication it took to reach such a level of skill. The woman, still calm and composed, remained a quiet presence, but her impact was undeniable. She had transformed an ordinary break into a memorable, inspiring experience for everyone. Throughout the day, her co-workers continued to talk about the performance. Some asked questions, trying to understand how she had learned to play so well. Others simply watched her with a new sense of respect. The woman never boasted or explained herself. She continued with her day, quietly contributing, observing, and participating. Yet the memory of her music lingered in the minds of everyone present, a gentle reminder that there is often more to people than meets the eye. By the end of the retreat, it was clear that the simple dare, meant to amuse, had revealed a hidden depth and brilliance in someone many had underestimated. It wasn't just about the piano. It was about presence, talent, and the quiet confidence to step forward when the moment arose. The quiet woman had changed the dynamic of the group, leaving an impression that would not fade easily. People left the retreat not only impressed by her skill, but also inspired by her humility and the way she had shared her talent without seeking recognition or approval. The day ended with a sense of warmth and admiration. The quiet woman's music had connected people in a way that words could not, creating a shared experience of awe and respect. Her performance had begun with a simple note and a dare meant in jest, but it had become a moment of revelation and inspiration. Everyone who witnessed it would carry the memory of that morning, the sound of the piano, and the grace of the performer long after they returned to their daily routines. And for the quiet woman, it was simply another day, another opportunity to express herself in a way that felt natural and true, leaving the world around her quietly astonished. The room still buzzed with whispers from the previous performance. When she returned to the piano once more, this time, there was a different energy in the air. The initial shock and admiration had evolved into curiosity and anticipation. People were eager to hear more, to see the depth of her talent, and to understand the music that had captivated them so completely. The quiet woman, calm and composed, sat in front of the piano with the same serene expression she had always worn. There was no hurry, no pretense, just a gentle readiness that invited the audience to listen closely. She began with a few simple notes, almost as a warm-up. But even those small sounds carried clarity and emotion that made heads turn and hearts pause. The people watching could feel the difference between ordinary playing and music that was alive with feeling. Her fingers moved effortlessly across the keys, and the room fell silent except for the piano. Every sound was deliberate, filled with subtle nuances that suggested not only skill, but also years of careful practice and devotion. The man who had dared her leaned slightly forward, his earlier embarrassment now replaced by awe. He had expected a funny scene, a moment of awkwardness, and instead he was witnessing a performance that demanded respect. The more she played, the more it became clear that her talent was not casual or superficial. Each note was intentional, precise, and expressive, conveying a story that words could never fully capture. Her co-workers were equally absorbed, some unconsciously holding their breath, afraid to break the delicate spell of the music. As the piece developed, it grew more complex. The melody twisted and turned, rising in gentle waves, then falling into quiet moments of reflection. Her hands moved fluidly, fingers stretching to reach every note with precision and grace. The audience could feel the emotion behind each chord, a depth that made them lean in closer, unable to look away. It was as if she was speaking directly to each person in the room, not with words, but with music that reached deep into the heart. Some co-workers closed their eyes, letting the sound envelop them, while others simply stared, mesmerized by her skill. The room had changed entirely. What had started as playful teasing had become an intimate moment, shared between the performer and those fortunate enough to witness it. There was a quiet reverence in the air, a mutual understanding that they were experiencing something rare and special. Even those who had been skeptical moments ago were now fully captivated, unable to deny the brilliance of her gift. Her calmness was striking. Despite the attention, she played with ease and confidence, never showing signs of nervousness or self-consciousness. It was clear that this was not her first time performing, yet she never sought to draw attention to herself. The humility in her presence made the music even more powerful, reminding everyone that true talent does not require recognition to exist. It was a quiet strength, one that demanded respect without needing to assert itself. As the piece reached its peak, the room seemed to pulse with the energy of her performance. The notes rose and fell with a rhythm that felt both natural and deliberate, carrying the audience on a journey of sound and feeling. Some people found themselves leaning closer to the piano, drawn to the intricate movements of her hands and the richness of the music. Others simply sat back, letting the melody wash over them, experiencing the full emotional weight of the moment. The man who had dared her now watched in silent admiration. He could see the years of dedication, the countless hours of practice, and the passion that had remained hidden beneath her quiet demeanor. He felt a mix of emotions, awe, regret for underestimating her, and gratitude for having the chance to witness her talent firsthand. It was a humbling experience, a reminder that people often carry depths that are not immediately visible. Her performance continued, each note flowing seamlessly into the next. The melody told a story, one of quiet determination, hidden strength, and beauty discovered in unexpected places. The audience could sense the effort behind the ease, the discipline behind the grace, and the joy behind the focus. It was a performance that transcended simple entertainment. It was an experience that connected people through the universal language of music. As the final notes approached, there was a delicate build-up, a subtle crescendo that left the audience leaning forward, captivated by every movement. Her fingers danced over the keys, striking chords with precision and feeling, and then gradually, the sound softened. The room seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the last note to fall. When it finally did, it lingered in the air like a gentle sigh, leaving a sense of calm and wonder. For a moment, there was complete silence. The room had been transformed, and everyone felt it. The man who had dared her finally exhaled, a soft laugh of disbelief escaping him. Others looked around at each other, sharing wide-eyed expressions of amazement. The quiet woman remained seated, composed as ever, as if she had simply finished another ordinary task. Yet the impact of her music was extraordinary, leaving an indelible mark on everyone present. Gradually, applause began to rise, first softly, then more confidently, filling the room with genuine appreciation. The sound was warm and heartfelt, not forced or obligatory. People were clapping not only for the skill, but for the courage it had taken to perform in front of a group that had doubted her. The applause was a celebration of hidden talent revealed, of respect earned through quiet confidence and undeniable skill. The man who had dared her approached the piano, still shaking his head slightly in disbelief. "I never expected anything like this," he admitted quietly. She nodded, acknowledging the comment without fanfare. There was no arrogance in her response, only a calm grace that made the praise feel natural rather than performative. The moment was not about him or anyone else. It was about the music, the talent, and the shared experience that had unfolded. Other co-workers gathered around, their faces filled with admiration and curiosity. They asked questions, trying to understand how she had developed such a talent. But she answered only briefly, never seeking to impress. Her humility was as striking as her skill, and it only deepened the respect that everyone felt. People realized that they had underestimated her for years, unaware of the depth and dedication that had always been a part of her life. As the morning progressed, the atmosphere in the room shifted completely. The playful teasing and casual chatter of before were replaced by a quiet reflection and appreciation. People spoke in hushed tones about the performance, sharing their own feelings and reactions. Some described being moved to tears, others spoke of feeling inspired, and all agreed that it had been a rare and unforgettable experience. The quiet woman had done more than play the piano. She had created a moment that connected everyone through emotion and admiration. The day continued, but the impact of the performance lingered. Conversations frequently returned to the piano, to her talent, and to the humility with which she had shared it. Even as people engaged in other activities, the memory of the music remained vivid in their minds. They had witnessed something extraordinary in an ordinary setting, and it had left them with a sense of wonder and appreciation that could not be easily forgotten. Throughout it all, she remained quietly present, participating without seeking attention. Her performance had spoken for itself, and the audience had responded with genuine respect and admiration. It was a lesson in the power of hidden talent, in the strength of humility, and in the beauty that can emerge when someone shares their gifts without reservation or ego. The quiet woman had transformed an ordinary morning into an extraordinary memory, and everyone who experienced it knew they had witnessed something truly remarkable. By the end of the morning, it was clear that the piano performance had changed the way people saw her. She was no longer just a quiet co-worker. She was a source of inspiration and awe. Her talent had revealed a depth of character and dedication that could not be ignored. The man who had dared her understood the lesson clearly. Never underestimate someone based on appearances or quiet demeanor. True skill and passion often reside in the most unexpected places, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. As the afternoon unfolded, the quiet woman remained a gentle presence in the room, her impact lingering in the minds of everyone around her. The earlier performance had completely transformed the atmosphere. What had begun as a casual dare had evolved into an unforgettable experience, one that shifted the way her co-workers viewed her entirely. People who had joked and teased earlier now spoke with respect and curiosity, eager to learn more about the talent that had so unexpectedly revealed itself. The piano, which had once been just a piece of furniture in the corner, now seemed alive, almost magnetic. It drew people toward it, a silent invitation to listen, to watch, to experience something extraordinary. Some of her co-workers, inspired by the performance, tentatively approached, touching the keys lightly, feeling the vibrations, and imagining what it must have been like to possess such skill. Others stayed back, captivated by her presence, unable to tear their eyes away from the woman who had so effortlessly commanded their attention. Without saying a word, she returned to the piano with quiet determination, sitting gracefully in front of it. The room fell into a hush almost instinctively. Everyone seemed to understand that something special was about to happen again. There was no need for announcements or fanfare. The anticipation alone spoke volumes. Her calm demeanor and unassuming nature created a sense of intimacy and trust. It was as if the audience knew that what they were about to hear would not only display skill, but also reveal a part of her soul. She began playing again, this time with a more expressive and intricate piece. The music was layered, combining delicate passages with powerful chords that resonated through the room. Her hands moved with a fluidity and precision that seemed almost otherworldly, yet every movement was rooted in natural grace. The melody ebbed and flowed, carrying the listeners through moments of tension, reflection, and release. The room was fully immersed, each person absorbing the music in their own personal way, yet united in the shared experience. The man who had dared her earlier now stood quietly at a distance, watching with a mixture of awe and humility. He had expected a moment of light amusement, a playful tease, and yet he was now witnessing something profoundly moving. He saw the concentration on her face, the way her fingers danced over the keys, and the subtle expressions of emotion that accompanied each note. It became clear that her talent was not merely technical skill, but a deep connection to the music, an ability to convey feeling and meaning through sound. Other co-workers were equally captivated. Some closed their eyes, letting the music wash over them, feeling its emotional weight. Others leaned forward, fascinated by the technical mastery and the fluidity of her performance. The quiet woman, once an overlooked figure in the group, had become the focal point of attention, not through words or gestures, but through the undeniable power of her talent. The performance created a sense of unity among the audience, a collective acknowledgement of something beautiful and rare. As the music progressed, the complexity of the piece increased. The melody twisted and turned, incorporating both rapid sequences and slower, more contemplative moments. Each chord seemed carefully chosen to evoke emotion, each pause and silence deliberate to create tension and release. The woman played not for recognition but because it was an expression of herself, a sharing of something deeply personal that resonated with everyone present. The audience could sense the dedication, practice, and passion that had gone into mastering such a skill, and it only heightened their admiration. The room remained silent except for the music. Even the subtle sounds of movement, the shifting of feet, or the clearing of throats were minimized as everyone became engrossed in the performance. It was a rare moment of complete focus and presence, where distractions melted away, leaving only the connection between the music, the performer, and the listeners. There was an almost sacred quality to the experience, a feeling that they were witnessing something far beyond ordinary life. The man who had dared her earlier slowly approached the piano, now with genuine respect. He watched the subtle movements of her hands, noting the precision and care in every gesture. It was a humbling experience for him, a reminder that assumptions based on appearances are often misleading. The quiet woman had demonstrated a depth of talent, discipline, and emotion that few had anticipated, and it left a lasting impression on everyone present. The melody began to reach its emotional peak, and the intensity of the performance grew. Her fingers moved rapidly yet gracefully, striking the keys with confidence and emotion. The music carried a narrative, a story of perseverance, hidden strength, and beauty that had remained unnoticed until this very moment. The audience could feel the layers of meaning embedded in each note, as if the music itself was communicating a truth that transcended words. Some co-workers found themselves moved to tears, unable to hold back the emotional impact of the performance. Others simply sat in silent awe, absorbing the depth and complexity of what they were witnessing. The quiet woman remained completely focused, her attention on the piano and the music, yet she was fully aware of the presence of those around her. She did not perform for approval or recognition. Her performance was a gift offered freely and without expectation, yet it was received with profound gratitude and admiration. As the final passages approached, the music softened, creating a gentle, lingering resonance. Each note seemed to float in the air, carrying with it a sense of completion, reflection, and fulfillment. The room remained silent for a moment, allowing the impact of the music to settle and resonate in the hearts of everyone present. It was a moment of quiet reflection, a shared acknowledgement of the extraordinary talent and the emotional journey they had just experienced. Gradually, the applause began, first softly and then growing louder as the audience recognized the magnitude of what they had witnessed. The sound was genuine and heartfelt, a collective expression of admiration and gratitude. The man who had dared her earlier joined in, clapping with a newfound respect and humility. Others gathered around, exchanging smiles and quiet words of praise. The quiet woman accepted their appreciation with simple nods, her calm demeanor never faltering, allowing the focus to remain on the music itself rather than on her. The impact of the performance extended beyond the room. Conversations throughout the day frequently returned to the piano, to her talent, and to the humility with which she had shared it. People spoke of feeling inspired, of being moved by the music, and of the rare opportunity to witness such skill and grace. The quiet woman had not only revealed a hidden talent, but had also changed the atmosphere, creating a sense of respect, admiration, and connection among her co-workers. By the end of the afternoon, it was clear that the performance had left a lasting impression. The quiet woman was no longer seen merely as a reserved colleague. She had become a symbol of hidden potential and the power of modesty paired with excellence. The man who had dared her understood the lesson well. Never underestimate someone, for their true talents may remain unseen until the right moment arrives. Her music had done more than entertain. It had inspired, humbled, and united those who had witnessed it. As the day came to a close, the quiet woman returned to her normal demeanor, participating in the remaining activities with her usual calm presence. Yet the memory of her performance lingered, a source of inspiration and admiration for everyone who had been fortunate enough to witness it. The piano, once just an overlooked instrument in the corner, had become a symbol of hidden brilliance, and she had revealed that brilliance effortlessly, with humility, grace, and extraordinary talent. The afternoon had transformed from a casual gathering into a moment of shared wonder, leaving an indelible mark on the hearts of those present and forever changing the way they perceived her. The day had grown quieter as the sun began to lower, casting long, warm shadows across the lobby. The piano, once merely a piece of furniture, now held a presence that no one could ignore. The quiet woman sat before it one last time, her hands hovering above the keys with a gentle anticipation. The room was filled with co-workers who had remained, drawn by the performance and the calm, powerful presence she brought. There was a feeling in the air that this final part of her playing would be something truly unforgettable. She began with a soft, deliberate note. The sound resonated through the room, filling every corner with warmth and clarity. It was not loud or flashy, but it carried an authority and emotion that immediately drew attention. People leaned forward instinctively, sensing that this moment was significant. The man who had dared her earlier watched in silence, his earlier bravado completely gone, replaced with a deep respect and awe for her talent. He had learned something valuable about underestimating others, and the quiet strength of hidden ability. The woman's fingers moved effortlessly across the keys, producing a melody that was intricate yet flowing. Each note seemed to tell a story, a narrative of dedication, patience, and years of quiet practice that no one had noticed before. The music held a depth that was both personal and universal, capable of touching anyone who listened. The audience felt as if she was speaking directly to them, not through words, but through the rhythm, tone, and expression of her playing. As the piece progressed, it grew in complexity. The melody twisted and turned with both speed and grace, incorporating delicate arpeggios and powerful chords that filled the room. It was clear that she was in complete control, not just of the piano, but of the story she wanted to convey through music. Her calm expression and steady posture gave her an aura of quiet confidence, making the audience realize that what they were witnessing was a result of years of dedication, discipline, and passion. Co-workers who had initially gathered for a light-hearted moment were now fully absorbed. Some closed their eyes, letting the music wash over them, feeling every emotion that the woman poured into each note. Others kept their eyes open, mesmerized by the movement of her hands and the precision of her technique. The piano, the woman, and the audience became intertwined in a shared experience, each feeding off the energy and emotion of the other. The moment felt timeless, almost suspended, as if the room itself had acknowledged the extraordinary act taking place. The man who had dared her found himself reflecting deeply. He thought about how easily assumptions can mislead people, how often the quiet and unassuming are overlooked. He could see the layers of dedication and effort hidden behind her serene demeanor. His previous amusement had been replaced by admiration, and he realized that the lesson went far beyond the music. It was about recognizing potential, valuing effort, and respecting the quiet strengths that people often hide. He felt humbled, inspired, and grateful to have witnessed such a demonstration of skill and character. As the music built toward its climax, the room seemed to swell with emotion. The melody rose, powerful and commanding, then softened into moments of gentle reflection. Every pause, every note, every transition was deliberate, designed to draw the listener further into the story she was telling. The audience could feel the narrative of her playing, the trials, the discipline, the quiet triumphs that had brought her to this moment. It was as though she had opened a window into her life through the piano, sharing not just music, but her journey, her emotions, and her spirit. People were deeply moved. Some felt tears sting their eyes, overwhelmed by the beauty and intensity of the performance. Others smiled softly, hearts full, as they connected to the emotions carried in the notes. No one spoke, no one moved unnecessarily, each person completely absorbed in the music. The quiet woman did not perform for validation or applause. She played because it was an expression of herself, a gift offered freely to those present, and it was received with a gratitude that needed no words. The melody began to slow, the complex sequences giving way to a gentle, sustained conclusion. The music softened, and the audience could feel a sense of closure approaching. Each note lingered, creating a peaceful resonance in the room. The gentle silence between notes was as important as the notes themselves, giving time for reflection, for appreciation, and for the realization of what had been shared. The performance was more than a display of talent. It was a story, a lesson, and an experience that touched the hearts of everyone present. Finally, the last note rang out, sustained and clear, and then faded into a soft, lingering echo. The room remained silent for a moment longer than expected. Everyone sat, absorbing the finality of the performance, the emotional weight of the story she had conveyed, and the awe-inspiring skill they had witnessed. It was a moment of shared reverence, a collective understanding that something extraordinary had taken place. The quiet woman sat still, composed, her eyes calm, as if she had simply finished another ordinary task. Yet the impact of her performance was far from ordinary. Then the applause began, slowly at first, then swelling into a chorus of appreciation and admiration. People clapped not only for the technical mastery they had witnessed, but also for the courage, humility, and emotional depth she had shared. The man who had dared her joined in, clapping with genuine respect and a newfound humility. Others gathered closer, expressing their amazement, exchanging quiet words of praise and acknowledgement. The quiet woman accepted their admiration with simple nods, never seeking to dominate the moment, allowing the music itself to remain the focus. Throughout the rest of the day, the memory of the performance lingered. Conversations frequently returned to the piano, to her talent, and to the way she had carried herself with such calm confidence. People found themselves inspired, reflecting on their own hidden strengths and potential. The quiet woman's performance had revealed not only her exceptional skill, but also the power of humility, the beauty of dedication, and the impact of sharing one's gifts freely. The experience had shifted the perception of everyone who had witnessed it, leaving them with a lasting impression of respect and admiration. By evening, as the retreat drew to a close, it was clear that her music had created something more profound than entertainment. It had inspired, humbled, and connected people in ways that casual conversation could not. The quiet woman, who had once been overlooked and underestimated, had become a source of admiration and inspiration. Her performance had shown that true talent can exist quietly, waiting for the right moment to shine, and that sharing it, even without seeking recognition, can leave an unforgettable mark. As the co-workers departed, many reflected on the lessons they had learned from witnessing her play. They thought about the assumptions they had made, the humor at her expense, and how quickly those notions had been upended. They considered the dedication and discipline required to reach such a level of mastery, and the quiet courage needed to share it. Above all, they recognized the beauty in humility, the strength in quiet confidence, and the extraordinary potential that can reside in unexpected places. The quiet woman herself remained composed, returning to her normal demeanor as if nothing extraordinary had occurred. Yet those who had been present knew differently. They had seen something remarkable, a rare combination of talent, dedication, and humility that left a lasting impact on everyone. Her final performance had not only amazed them, but had also inspired them to consider their own abilities, their own hidden strengths, and the way they might share them with the world. In the end, what had begun as a joke, a playful dare, had become a moment of transformation. The quiet woman had revealed her hidden brilliance, not through boastfulness or arrogance, but through skill, grace, and a sincere love for her craft. She had shown that true talent does not need to seek attention to be recognized, and that those who quietly possess it can still profoundly influence and inspire others. Her piano performance would be remembered not just for its technical mastery, but for the way it touched hearts, shifted perceptions, and left an indelible mark on everyone present.